How in the world is Sean Strickland such a big star in the UFC? Because it's not his fighting style. People don't generally like his fighting style. I mean, you can respect it, but what he does on the mic has made him a star. And I was thinking about it today because today is the 1-year anniversary of him getting knocked out by Alex Pereira with that left hook at UFC 276. So that was last year's International Fight Week. The card that Israel Adesanya fought Jared Cannonier on and defended the belt there. But that was his coming out party. Straight up. I mean, you look at his career before that fight, and it wasn't so much the fight. It was what he did at the press conference before that. But you look at his career before that, bunch of decision wins. I mean, not against like the top tier guys. He was just coming off a split decision win that should have been a unanimous decision win in a 5-round main event against Jack Hermanson. And like his fighting style was never that exciting. I mean, it's just a pressure, stand, and box with you type of style. And then he got on the mic in the press conference with Izzy versus Pereira. Or he was fighting Pereira, and Izzy was at the press conference as well. And with Alex not really talking a lot of English, or the ability to talk any English, Sean Strickland was going at Israel Adesanya. And it basically turned into Strickland versus Adesanya when they weren't even fighting that day. And how it ended up going was just a back and forth. Like, Izzy's not going to back down from anybody, so Sean's going to run his mouth 100% every time. And sometimes he's serious, sometimes he's just joking. So, I mean, you can't really tell when he is and when he's not. And that day, it was just he stole the show because you didn't really expect much from that press conference. And just Sean Strickland went at it with Izzy, and he was just making jokes about everybody on a pay-per-view press conference, which obviously gets a lot more of the pull for everything because he hadn't been on a pay-per-view card since 2018 before that. He was just a fight night guy and got a couple main event spots, but on the pay-per-view press conference side of things, he stole the show. Like, he was the show. And then he goes out there in a fight against a guy that's unranked when he's ranked number 4. And if he beats Pereira, he could probably have a case to get a title shot after that. And he goes out there against Pereira. People are thinking he's probably gonna wrestle. And he doesn't. He just stands there and strikes with him. And he gets knocked out in brutal fashion. And then, of course, that sets up the fight with Pereira and Izzy. But that was his moment. Like, as weird as that is to say, him getting knocked out was kind of like a viral moment to be like, okay, this guy just ran his mouth 2 days ago and was going after the champion, and then he just got knocked out with a left hook. Then he comes back and fights Jared Cannonier at the end of the year, end of 2022. And I think he just kind of went with it. Like, maybe he just got a little bit more money to where he's more comfortable saying his opinions. I mean, he's always kind of said his opinions, but now it seems like he's doubling down on everything. Like, he's really going at it. He wants to make every time he gets on a mic, he wants to make it known what he stands for and what he believes in. And the press conference with Jared Cannonier, it wasn't everyone in the room, but Fight Night Apex, they're going to talk to the media. You saw more of the same stuff. You just kept seeing more of the same stuff. And then you have Sean going on podcasts with like Brendan Shaw, and then the Nina girl that does all the stuff for the UFC. She does a great job like promoting it because she leans into it, and he is, as much as you may think he doesn't like doing that, he definitely does because he knows it helps him out, and he likes the camera time. I think he does. I think he definitely likes the camera time. But it's good for him. I think it's made him a star because over that time, between him getting knocked out last year and to now, you look at what he did on Saturday night against Abus Magomedov. He went in there with a guy who had one UFC fight. I mean, he took the fight that nobody wanted to take. He had no reason to take that fight. And then he goes in there in the Apex, and I know he's a Las Vegas guy, and Las Vegas is his home. but people were cheering for him. Like, everyone in that Apex wanted Sean Strickland to win. And, I mean, that's not really something you get a whole lot when you're in the Apex, like, where everyone is on the same page. We're like, we want this guy to win. And even across social medias, I think most people wanted Sean Strickland to win. It's as weird as it is to say, because he's a very polarizing figure. I mean, whether you like him or not, whether you agree with him or not, you're going to watch his fights just to see what happens to him. And if you do like him, if you do like respect what he says or what he believes in, like, people love him. I think a lot of people love him. And I mean, maybe it's just what I'm seeing, but I'm looking at Sean Strickland like, this guy has glowed up in the past year, like, a lot. You look at the numbers he pulls on, like, interviews, pre-fight and post-fight interviews. I mean, pre-fight, he's getting up there with, like, Israel Adesanya. Like, 30 to 40,000 in his press conference, just where it's the fighter and the press media. He's pulling 30 to 40,000, and that's about what Israel Adesanya would do. So, I mean, he's up there with the stars of the middleweight division. Yes, he's ranked number 7. But you look at a guy like a Jared Cannonier or like a Marvin Vettori, they're pulling like 10, maybe 10,000, maybe 10,000, maybe 15,000, and they just don't have the pull of like a Sean Strickland. I almost want to relate it to a type of like Colby Covington, where their fight style is not that exciting. It's very respectable, and it's like, okay, this guy is kind of a badass in there because he just doesn't give a fuck. Like, he's just gonna go out there and throw hands. That's Sean Strickland. If it's Colby Covington, he's gonna go out there and just push a pace on you. It's a respectable way to fight, but it's not sexy. And then the personality, Colby may be a bit forced, but it seems like Sean, like, that's just him. I think that's just him. And maybe that's why people can get behind it, because it seems pretty genuine. And if you listen to what he actually says, there's a lot of jokes. There's always a lot of jokes. 100%. There's always a lot of jokes. But there are some times where he wants to really get a real message across. And it seems like as of recent, he's more adamant about getting like a real message across. Like, he'll get asked the question and then just completely ignore the question to talk about something that he wants to talk about, which is, I mean, it's interesting because you could basically just give him a mic and tell him to talk, and he's going to pull something out of there. So I think the guy I respect, and I like to see fighters glow up like that, to where, you know, this guy is somewhat of a success story, because he always talks about like his childhood and stuff, and how different he is from when he was, 15, 16, 17. And I like to see guys that are a success story, whether it's through that or whatever. But I mean, the guy got into the UFC at a fairly, I mean, he had no hype, and he just kind of gradually made his way up there. It's not a sexy style. It's kind of like a break you down style. There's a lot to respect with that, and he always speaks his mind. So I'm glad that he's starting to get some people behind him and some support. And I would like to see him in the title fight with Izzy. I think he's earned it. I think that would probably be the best seller at this point. Like, I think the lead up to that fight would be something. The fight itself, it would be a standing fight. And would it be competitive? Who knows? But I know that Sean's not going to back down to anything. So even if Izzy does start tagging him with some stuff, he's not going to back down. So I want to see it. And I just had to come on here and talk about how much growth you've seen from Sean Strickland as far as popularity within the last year and how it actually came about. So if you enjoyed the video, drop a like. If you want to support the channel, drop a subscription. And if you want to follow me on all the medias, they're down below. Hey, Jive Picks here, signing out.